I woke up during my own surgery. Not all the way. Not the kind of waking where you scream or thrash or make a scene. Just enough to hear voices. Just enough to know I shouldn't be hearing them. The anesthesia had me floating somewhere between sleep and awareness, like being underwater with my eyes closed. I could feel pressure on my abdomen, a dull tugging sensation that didn't hurt but registered as wrong. The voices above me were muffled, filtered through layers of chemical haze. Then one voice sharpened, clear, distinct. Put this folder in his spouse's bag. He must not see it. My doctor, Dr. Calder Wynne. I'd know that voice anywhere. Careful, measured. The kind of voice that never said anything without calculating the effect first. I kept my eyes closed. I kept my breath steady. Every instinct screamed to open my eyes, to sit up, to demand an explanation. But something older and wiser than instinct took over. Some primal survival mechanism that said, "Don't move. Don't show them you heard. Be prey. Be still." I focused on my breathing. In, out, slow, even. The kind of breathing an unconscious man would do. Another voice responded. Female, younger, nervous. "In her bag? Are you sure?" That was Paige. Nurse Paige Dalton. I'd met her during pre-op, efficient, professional. She'd checked my vitals twice and made small talk about the weather. Now her voice had an edge to it. Uncertainty, maybe fear. "Just do it," Dr. Wynne said. "Before he's awake, before anyone else comes in." Silence. Then the rustle of movement. Footsteps. The soft click of something being set down. I counted my heartbeats, tried to keep them regular, tried not to let the surge of adrenaline show on whatever monitor they had me hooked up to. What folder? Why my spouse's bag? Why must I not see it? The questions piled up in my head, but I pushed them down. Later. I'd deal with it later. Or close enough. "Is he stable?" Dr. Wynne asked. "Vitals are good," Paige said. Her voice was quieter now, distant, like she'd moved away from me. "Good. Let's finish up." More pressure. More tugging. I let myself drift back down into the chemical fog, but I held on to those words like a lifeline. Put this folder in his spouse's bag. He must not see it. When I properly woke up, I was in recovery. Fluorescent lights, beige walls, the smell of antiseptic and floor cleaner. My mouth tasted like I'd been chewing on cotton balls soaked in metal. A different nurse stood beside me. Older, round face. She smiled when she saw my eyes open. "Welcome back, Mr. Hale. How are you feeling?" "Groggy," I said. My voice came out rough, dry. "That's normal. The anesthesia will take a few hours to fully clear your system. Are you in pain?" I did a mental inventory. My abdomen felt sore, tight, but not unbearable. "It's manageable," I said. "Good. I'll let Dr. Wynne know you're awake. Your wife is in the waiting room. We'll bring her back in a few minutes." Wife, Marla. The folder was supposed to be in her bag. I nodded slowly, trying to look more out of it than I was. "Can I get some water?" "Of course." She left. I stared at the ceiling tiles and counted the holes in the acoustic panels. Anything to keep my mind busy while I figured out what to do next. Marla appeared 10 minutes later. She looked perfect, as always. Hair styled, makeup subtle but flawless. She wore a soft gray sweater and dark jeans that probably cost more than most people's car payments. She smiled when she saw me, but it didn't reach her eyes. "There you are," she said, coming to my bedside. She took my hand. Her fingers were cool and smooth. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck." "That's what surgery does." She squeezed my hand gently. "Dr. Wynne said everything went well. No complications. You should be back to normal in a few weeks." Normal. Right. I glanced at her bag. Large. Designer. Leather. Sitting on the chair beside her. Was it in there? The folder? "Did they give you all the discharge papers?" I asked. "Not yet. They said they'd bring them before we leave. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. A nervous gesture. I'd seen it 1,000 times over the years. She only did it when she was hiding something. Good, I said. I want to make sure we have everything. You don't need to worry about that. I'll handle it. Of course she would. They discharged me 2 hours later. Paige was the one who wheeled me out to the car. She avoided eye contact the entire time. When we reached the curb where Marla had pulled up, Paige helped me stand, handed me a small packet of post-op instructions, and hurried back inside without a word. She knew. She was afraid. Marla drove us home. She made small talk about the weather, about a call she'd gotten from our daughter-in-law Tessa about dinner plans for later in the week. I made appropriate noises in response, but I wasn't really listening. I was thinking about the folder. About why Dr. Wynne wanted me not to see it. About why Paige had been so nervous. About why Marla kept glancing at me with that tight smile that never quite looked real. We lived in a suburb 20 minutes from the surgical center. Nice neighborhood, tree-lined streets, homes with 2-car garages and landscaped lawns. The kind of place where people said hello when they walked their dogs and complained about property taxes at HOA meetings. "Do you need help getting inside?" she asked. "I can manage." "Are you sure? You just had surgery." "I'm sure." I opened the car door and stepped out carefully. My abdomen protested, but I ignored it. Marla grabbed her bag and followed me up the walkway. She unlocked the front door and held it open for me. "Go lie down," she said. "I'll bring you some water and your pain medication." "Thanks." I headed for the stairs, then stopped. "Actually, I left my phone in my coat pocket. Can you grab it for me?" "Your coat?" She frowned. "You didn't wear a coat to the surgery center." "Yes, I did. The gray one. I left it in the car." "I don't think—" "Please, Marla, I need my phone." She sighed. "Fine, I'll check." She went back outside. I waited until I heard the car door open, then moved quickly to the coat closet near the front door. My gray coat hung on the third hook. I reached into the pockets. Left pocket, empty. Right pocket, not empty. I pulled out a manila folder, legal size, unmarked. My heart kicked into overdrive. I opened it. The first page was a document I didn't recognize. Dense paragraphs of legal language. At the top, in bold, limited power authorization. Below that, my name. Below that, a signature. Not my signature. Close. Very close, but not mine. The G in Graham was too looped. The tail on the H was too short. Someone had practiced, but not enough. I heard Marla's footsteps on the walkway. I shoved the folder back into my coat pocket and moved away from the closet. By the time she came through the door, I was halfway up the stairs. "It wasn't in the car," she called after me. "Must have left it somewhere else," I said. "Don't worry about it." I went into our bedroom and closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, stared at the wall, put this folder in his spouse's bag. He must not see it. But it wasn't in her bag. It was in my coat. Why? I waited until Marla went to the kitchen before I pulled the folder out again. I spread the pages across the bed and read every word. The limited power authorization was exactly what it sounded like. A legal document granting Marla temporary control over my business account access and signature authority. The reason given: medical recovery and temporary cognitive impairment. Cognitive impairment. They were calling me incompetent. The second page was a notarized statement. My name again. The same forged signature. A notary seal that looked legitimate, but I'd need to verify. The third page was a physician attestation. Dr. Calder-Wynn's signature at the bottom, neat and confident. The statement claimed I was not fit to review documents during my recovery period, that I needed assistance with financial and business decisions until further evaluation. I read it 3 times. Then I checked the date. Today's date. They'd prepared this before my surgery, before I'd even gone under. They'd planned this. My hands shook, not from the anesthesia, from rage. I forced myself to breathe, to think. If this folder was supposed to be in Marla's bag, why was it in my coat? Had someone made a mistake? Had Paige put it in the wrong place, or had someone wanted me to find it? I thought about Paige's nervous voice, her refusal to make eye contact, the way she'd practically run back into the building after dropping me off. She knew something. I heard footsteps on the stairs. I shoved the folder under my pillow and lay back, closing my eyes. Marla opened the door. "Are you sleeping?" "Trying to," I mumbled. "I brought your medication." She set a glass of water and a pill bottle on the nightstand. "Take 2 now and 2 every 6 hours. Doctor's orders." "Thanks. Do you need anything else?" "No, I'm fine." She lingered in the doorway. I could feel her watching me. "Graham?" "Yeah?" "I'm glad you're okay." I opened my eyes and looked at her. She stood with one hand on the doorframe, backlit by the hallway light. Her expression was soft, concerned, convincing. "Me too," I said. She smiled and closed the door. I waited 10 minutes. Then I got up, pulled the folder from under my pillow, and took photos of every page with my phone. I uploaded them to a cloud account Marla didn't know about. Then I put the folder back in my coat pocket and returned to bed. My mind was racing now, connecting pieces. Marla had access to my business accounts. She'd been on the paperwork for years, a standard precaution for married couples. But this document would give her more than access. It would give her control. She could sign contracts, make transfers, change permissions. Why would she need that? And why now? I thought about our son, Evan, charming, charismatic, always smiling, always just a little too interested in how the business was doing. He'd asked me last month if I'd ever considered bringing in a partner to help manage things. I'd said no. I thought about Tessa, Evan's wife, sweet on the surface, poison underneath. She'd made comments before about how stressful it must be for me to run everything alone, how I should let the younger generation help. I'd brushed it off as social climbing, status hunting. Maybe I'd been wrong. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling and felt something cold settle in my chest. They'd planned this. All of them. They'd waited until I was most vulnerable, most trusting. And they'd struck. But they'd made one mistake. They'd underestimated me. I wasn't old. I wasn't weak. I wasn't going to roll over and let them take everything I'd built. I was going to fight back. And I was going to win. And that night, I pretended to sleep while Marla moved around the house. I heard her on the phone in the hallway, voice low and urgent. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. She was reporting to someone. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from Tessa in the family group chat. "Sending prayers for Graham's speedy recovery. We're all thinking of you." 3 prayer hands emojis, a heart, a smiley face. Within minutes, the replies flooded in. Evan: "Thanks for the update. Let us know if you need anything." Our daughter Rena: "Love you, Dad. Rest up." More emojis, more hearts, more performance. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I typed, "Thanks, everyone. Feeling good. Appreciate the support." Then I muted the chat. I knew what this was. Reputation management. They were getting ahead of the story, planting the narrative. Graham had surgery. Graham is recovering. Graham needs help. When they made their move, everyone would already believe I was vulnerable, confused, not quite myself. It was brilliant, in a sociopathic kind of way. I lay in the dark and let the anger sharpen into something harder, something colder. They wanted to play games? Fine. I'd play, but I'd play by my own rules. The next morning, Marla brought me breakfast in bed. Toast, scrambled eggs, orange juice. She sat beside me while I ate, asking about my pain levels, whether I'd slept well, if I needed more medication. The perfect caretaker. I played along, smiled, thanked her, acted a little slower than I felt, a little more confused. "Did the doctor say when I can go back to work?" I asked. Not for at least 2 weeks. You need to rest. 2 weeks? That's a long time. Graham, you just had surgery. Your body needs to heal. I know, but the business will be fine. Evan and I can handle things until you're back on your feet. There it was. Evan and I can handle things. I don't want to burden you, I said. It's not a burden. We're family. We help each other. She squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. You're right, I said. Thank you. She smiled. Relieved. She thought she'd won. After she left, I pulled out my phone and searched for the name I'd kept in my contacts for years but never called. Jules Merritt, attorney, corporate law, contracts and disputes. We'd met at a business conference 5 years ago. She'd given me her card and said, "If you ever need someone who doesn't waste time, call me." I'd kept the card. Now I needed her. I sent a text. "This is Graham Hale. We met at the summit in 2020. I need legal help. Urgent. Can you talk today?" The response came back in less than a minute. "I remember you. Call me in an hour. I'll make time." I set an alarm and closed my eyes. 1 hour. Then the real work would begin. At exactly 10 a.m., I called Jules. She answered on the second ring. "Graham, tell me what's happening." No small talk, no pleasantries, straight to business. I liked her already. I told her everything: the surgery, the whispered instruction, the folder in my coat, the forged signature, the limited power authorization, the physician attestation. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a pause. Then, "Do you have the documents?" "Photos, uploaded to a private cloud." "Good. Send me the access link. I need to review them." "I'll do it now." "One more question. Do you think your spouse knows you found the folder?" I hesitated. "No, I don't think so." "Keep it that way. Act normal. Act compliant. Let them think you're exactly what they need you to be: confused, cooperative, and out of the way." "How long do I play that role?" "Until I tell you to stop. I need to verify a few things first. The notary seal, the physician attestation, the timeline. If this is what I think it is, they're moving fast. We need to move faster." "How fast?" "Give me 48 hours. Can you keep up the act that long?" I thought about Marla's smile, about Evan's texts, about Tessa's fake concern. "I can do it," I said. "Good. One more thing. Don't sign anything. Not even something that looks routine. If they try to get you to sign paperwork, stall. Pretend you can't read it. Pretend you're too tired. Pretend whatever you need to, but don't put your name on anything." "Understood. I'll call you tomorrow. Keep your phone close." She hung up. I sat on the edge of the bed and felt something shift inside me, a gear clicking into place. I wasn't just defending myself anymore, I was hunting. We didn't sleep that night. Jules and I stayed in her office until 3 a.m., building the case. She drafted motions and briefs while I organized evidence and flagged inconsistencies in their filings. The handwriting analysis sat in the center of the table like a smoking gun. By the time the sun came up, we had a plan. "Here's how this works," Jules said, pouring her 4th cup of coffee. "The hearing is in 3 days. They'll present their case first because they're the petitioners. They'll trot out Dr. Wynne, maybe Brent Sloan, maybe even Marla. They'll paint you as confused, unstable, a danger to yourself financially. Then we get our turn. What do we present? Everything. The forged signature, the handwriting analysis, the timeline showing premeditation, Paige's testimony if we can get it, and you. You'll take the stand and prove you're sharp, coherent, and fully capable. What if they've already gotten to Paige? Then we lean harder on the physical evidence, but we need to try. Do you have her contact information?" "Just the number she called from." "Call her. Now." I pulled out my phone and dialed. It rang 4 times. Then voicemail. "Paige, this is Graham Hale. I know you're scared, but I need you. We have a hearing in 3 days, and your testimony could make the difference. Please, call me back." I hung up. Jules leaned back in her chair. Now we wait. What if she doesn't call? Then we go to plan B, which is? We find her. I went home around 7 a.m. to shower and change clothes. The house was quiet. Marla's car wasn't in the driveway. I let myself in and stood in the foyer, listening. Nothing. I went upstairs, grabbed clean clothes, and got in the shower. The hot water felt like heaven on my sore muscles. I stood under the spray and let my mind clear. 3 days. That's all we had. 3 days to dismantle a conspiracy. 3 days to prove I wasn't the person they were claiming I was. 3 days to win my life back. When I got out, I heard voices downstairs. I dressed quickly and went to investigate. Marla was in the kitchen with Tessa. They both looked up when I appeared. Graham, Marla said. Her voice was carefully neutral. I didn't know you were here. It's my house. Of course it is. I just meant I didn't hear you come in. I ignored her and poured myself coffee. Tessa smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Uncle Graham, how are you feeling? Fine. We heard about the court hearing. That must be stressful. It's not. Really? Because Aunt Marla is very upset. She's just trying to help you. I set my mug down and looked at Marla. Is that what you're doing? Helping me? Yes. By trying to declare me incompetent, by forging my signature, by working with Brent Sloan to sell my company? Tessa gasped. Marla's face stayed blank. I don't know what you think you know, Marla said quietly, but you're wrong. Am I? Because I have the documents. I have the evidence. And in 3 days, a judge is going to see all of it. Then the judge will see you're not thinking clearly. We'll see. I grabbed my coffee and walked out. My phone rang as I was driving back to Jules's office. Unknown number again. I answered. Hello? Mr. Hale. It was Paige. Her voice was barely a whisper. I got your message. Thank you for calling back. I need your help. I know, but I can't testify. I told you that. Paige, please. They came to see me. I went cold. Who did? Dr. Wynne, and a man I didn't recognize. They came to my apartment last night. They said if I talked to you or to any lawyers, they'd make sure I never worked in medicine again. They said they'd file a complaint with the nursing board. They said... Her voice broke. They scared me. What did you tell them? I said I didn't know what they were talking about. I said I'd done my job and followed instructions. They didn't believe me. But they left. Did they threaten you physically? No. Just my career. That's all I have. I can't lose it. I understand. But Paige, if you don't help me, they win. And they'll do this to someone else. Maybe someone who can't fight back. Silence. Then, what do you need? A sworn statement, typed or written. Everything you told me at the coffee shop. Everything you remember about the folder, the instructions, the forged signature. You don't have to testify in person, but we need your words on record. Will it be anonymous? No, but it will be protected. My lawyer can file it under seal. Only the judge will see it unless you give permission otherwise. Another long pause. I'll do it, she said finally. But I need your word. If this destroys my career, you'll help me find another one. You have my word. Okay, I'll write it tonight. How do I get it to you? Email it to my lawyer. I'll send you her address. Okay. Thank you, Paige. Don't thank me yet. I might regret this. She hung up. I immediately called Jules and told her. That's huge, she said. If she follows through, it corroborates everything. The premeditation, the conspiracy, the forgery, it all holds together. What if she changes her mind? Then we push forward without her. But I think she'll come through. Fear is a powerful motivator, but so is guilt. She knows what she did was right. She just needs to believe it won't destroy her. I hope you're right. Me too. The next 2 days were a blur. Jules filed motion after motion. I met with the handwriting expert again, this time for a video deposition that would be played at the hearing. I reviewed my financial records, my business contracts, every document that proved I was competent and in control. Paige sent her statement on the second night, 8 pages, detailed, damning. Jules read it twice and smiled. This is it. This is the nail in their coffin. Will the judge allow it? She has to. It's first-hand testimony from a witness to the forgery, and it explains how the folder ended up in your coat instead of your wife's bag. It closes the loop. What if they challenge it? Let them. We have the handwriting analysis to back it up. They'd have to prove Paige is lying, and they can't do that without admitting they knew about the forgery. I nodded. What's our order of presentation? We'll start with you. You'll take the stand and establish your competence. Clear, direct answers. No rambling, no anger, just facts. Then we'll present the handwriting analysis, then the notary verification showing irregularities. Then Paige's statement. Then we'll cross-examine their witnesses and tear apart their narrative. What if they bring in a doctor who says I'm incompetent? They can try. But we have your psychiatric evaluation showing the opposite. It becomes a credibility battle, and we have more evidence. What about Brent Sloan? If he testifies, we'll destroy him. He's got a financial motive. He profits if your company sells. That taints everything he says. I took a deep breath. Okay, I'm ready. Good, because tomorrow we go to war. The hearing was scheduled for 9 a.m. in Family Court Division C. I dressed in a suit, navy blue, white shirt, conservative tie. I wanted to look stable, competent, trustworthy. Jules met me outside the courthouse. How are you feeling? She asked. Nervous. Good. Nervous means you're taking this seriously. Just remember, stick to the facts. Don't let them bait you. And whatever you do, don't lose your temper. I won't. We went inside. The courtroom was small, wood-paneled walls, a judge's bench at the front, 2 tables facing it, a few rows of seating in the back. Marla was already there, sitting at the petitioner's table with her lawyer. A man in his 50s, gray suit, expensive watch. He looked bored. Evan and Tessa sat in the gallery behind them. Brent Sloan was nowhere to be seen. We took our seats at the respondent's table. Jules set out her files and laptop. I sat beside her and tried to keep my hands steady. At exactly 9 a.m., the bailiff called the court to order. All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Winters presiding. We stood. Judge Winters entered from a side door and took her seat. Be seated. We're here for case number 2025 FM 4472, Hale versus Hale. Petition for temporary conservatorship. Counsel, state your appearances. Marla's lawyer stood. David Brennan for the petitioner, Your Honor. Jules stood. Jules Merritt for the respondent, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Brennan, you may proceed with your opening statement. Brennan stood and buttoned his jacket. Your Honor, this is a straightforward case. Mr. Graham Hale recently underwent surgery. During his recovery, he exhibited signs of confusion and cognitive impairment. His spouse, Marla Hale, sought temporary authority to manage his affairs until he fully recovered. This is not a hostile action. This is a protective measure. Mrs. Hale loves her husband and wants to ensure he doesn't make decisions that could harm himself or his business while he's not at full capacity. We ask the court to grant the temporary conservatorship and allow the family to help Mr. Hale through this difficult time. He sat down. Jules stood. Your Honor, the petitioner's claim rests entirely on a fabricated narrative. Mr. Hale was never confused. He was never impaired. What he was is the victim of a coordinated scheme to seize control of his business using a forged signature and fraudulent medical attestations. We will prove, through documentary evidence and witness testimony, that this petition is not about protection. It's about profit. And it's about betrayal. We ask the court to deny the petition and sanction the petitioner for filing a frivolous and malicious claim. She sat down. Judge Winters looked between us. Mr. Brennan, call your first witness. Brennan called Marla. She took the stand and was sworn in. She wore a gray dress and minimal jewelry. She looked tired, sad, convincing. Brennan approached the witness box. Mrs. Hale, can you describe your husband's behavior following his surgery? He was confused, disoriented. He couldn't remember simple things. He kept asking the same questions over and over. Can you give an example? He asked me 3 times in one day where his phone was. He got agitated when I reminded him he'd left it in the car. He accused me of hiding it from him. I wanted to scream. That was a lie. I'd asked once, and it had been a test. Jules put a hand on my arm. Stay calm, her eyes said. Did his confusion extend to financial matters? Brennan asked. Yes, he tried to access his bank accounts and couldn't remember his passwords. He called the bank and got frustrated when they asked him security questions. He seemed lost. Another lie. I'd changed my passwords deliberately, but I couldn't interrupt. Did you seek medical advice about his condition? Yes, I spoke with Dr. Wynn. He said post-operative cognitive effects are common and usually temporary, but he recommended we take precautions to ensure Graham didn't make any major decisions until he was fully recovered. And that's why you filed the petition? Yes, I was trying to protect him. Thank you, Mrs. Hale. No further questions. Jules stood. Mrs. Hale, you testified that your husband was confused and disoriented, but you also testified that he was able to call the bank and attempt to access his accounts. Correct? Yes. Those are contradictory statements. If he was too confused to function, how was he able to navigate the bank's phone system and answer security questions? Marla hesitated. He was having a good moment. A good moment, I see. How many good moments did he have? I don't know, it varied. Did you document any of these episodes of confusion, write them down, record them? No. Why not? I didn't think I needed to. Or perhaps because they didn't happen. Objection, Brennan said. Argumentative. Sustained, Judge Winters said. Move on, Ms. Merritt. Mrs. Hale, when did you first contact a lawyer about filing this petition? A few days after the surgery. A few days. So within 72 hours of your husband's procedure, you'd already decided he was incompetent? I didn't decide anything. I sought advice. From a lawyer who specializes in conservatorship cases. Yes. And did this lawyer suggest filing quickly before your husband had time to recover? He said it was better to act proactively. Proactively. Interesting word. Almost like you were planning this before the surgery even happened. Objection! Brennan stood. Your Honor, counsel is badgering the witness. Overruled. The witness may answer. Marla's jaw tightened. I was not planning anything. I was protecting my husband. By forging his signature on legal documents? The courtroom went silent. Brennan shot to his feet. Objection! There's no evidence of forgery. Jules walked to her table and picked up the handwriting analysis. Actually, Your Honor, there is, and I'll be presenting it shortly. But I'd like Mrs. Hale to explain why her husband's signature on the limited power authorization doesn't match any of his other signatures on file. I don't know anything about that, Marla said. I didn't prepare those documents. Who did? The lawyer and the notary. And you never questioned why your husband's signature looked different? I didn't look that closely. You didn't look closely at a document that gave you control over your husband's business? Marla's face flushed. I trusted the process. Or you knew it was fake. Objection. Sustained. Ms. Merritt, unless you have evidence to support that claim, move on. Jules nodded. No further questions. Marla stepped down. She didn't look at me as she returned to her seat. Brennan called Dr. Wynn next. Dr. Calder Wynn took the stand with practiced confidence. He wore a dark suit and a calm expression. He looked like someone you'd trust with your life. Brennan approached. Dr. Wynne, you performed Mr. Hale's surgery. Is that correct? Yes. And you observed him during his recovery? Yes. Can you describe his mental state? He was groggy, disoriented, typical of someone coming out of anesthesia. But I noted some concerning signs. He had difficulty following instructions. He seemed confused about where he was. He asked repetitive questions. I gripped the edge of the table. More lies. Did you document these observations? Brennan asked. Yes, in his medical file. And based on those observations, did you form an opinion about his cognitive capacity? I believed he was temporarily impaired. I recommended he avoid making significant decisions until he was fully recovered. Did you communicate this to Mrs. Hale? Yes. I felt it was important that his family be aware. Thank you, Doctor. No further questions. Jules stood and approached slowly. Dr. Wynne, you testified that you documented Mr. Hale's confusion in his medical file. Can you produce that file for the court? I can provide a copy. I'd like to see it now. Dr. Wynne shifted. I don't have it with me. Why not? I wasn't asked to bring it. You're testifying about its contents, but you didn't bring it? I can have it sent over. That's convenient. Dr. Wynne, let me ask you this. Do you have a professional relationship with a notary named Rebecca Voss? His expression didn't change. I may have worked with her in the past. I'm not sure. You're not sure. Let me refresh your memory. Rebecca Voss notarized the documents in question, the same documents you provided a medical attestation for. Did you coordinate with her on that? I provided an attestation based on my medical judgment. I don't know who notarized it. But you do know Mrs. Hale, and you do know she was seeking legal authority over her husband, and you provided her with exactly the medical justification she needed. Isn't that correct? I provided an honest medical opinion. Did Mrs. Hale offer you anything in exchange for that opinion? Objection! Brennan stood. Your Honor, this is outrageous. Counsel is implying— I'm not implying anything, Jules said. I'm asking directly. Dr. Wynne, did you receive any financial compensation from Mrs. Hale or her associates in connection with this case? Dr. Wynne's jaw tightened. I provided a medical service. I was compensated for that service. How much? I don't recall the exact amount. Roughly. A few $1,000s. For a single attestation? For my time and expertise. Jules smiled. No further questions. Dr. Wynne stepped down. He avoided looking at me. Brennan rested his case. Judge Winters looked at Jules. Ms. Merritt, call your first witness. Jules stood. Your Honor, the respondent calls Graham Hale. I stood and walked to the witness box. The bailiff swore me in, and I sat down. Jules approached. Mr. Hale, can you state your full name and age for the record? Graham Hale, 51 years old. And you're the respondent in this case? Yes. Can you tell the court what happened on the day of your surgery? I took a breath and began. I told the judge everything, the whispered conversation, the folder in my coat, the forged signature, the discovery of the conspiracy. I spoke clearly, calmly. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get emotional. When I finished, Jules asked, Mr. Hale, at any point after your surgery, did you feel confused or unable to make decisions? No. Did you ask your wife to hide your phone? No. Did you struggle with basic tasks? No. Did you ever agree to transfer authority over your business? Absolutely not. Thank you. No further questions. Brennan stood. Mr. Hale, you claim you overheard a conversation during surgery, but you were under anesthesia. How is that possible? I woke up briefly. It happens. Or you imagined it. I didn't imagine it. I heard Dr. Wynne's voice clearly. But you can't prove that. Actually, I can, because the folder he mentioned ended up in my coat, exactly as I described. according to you, but there's no evidence anyone put it there. There's a witness, Nurse Paige Dalton. She'll testify to exactly that. Brennan smirked. Will she? Because we've been informed that Ms. Dalton is unavailable. My stomach dropped. Jules stood. Your Honor, we have a sworn statement from Ms. Dalton. It's been submitted to the court. A statement is not live testimony, Brennan said. It's hearsay. It's an exception to hearsay under Rule 807, Jules countered, and it's corroborated by physical evidence. Judge Winters held up a hand. I'll review the statement and make a ruling on its admissibility. Continue, Mr. Brennan. Mr. Hale, you've accused your wife of conspiracy, of forgery, of trying to steal your business. But isn't it possible you're simply angry about a misunderstanding? That you're letting paranoia cloud your judgment? No. No? You're absolutely certain? Yes. Even though you were under heavy medication at the time? I wasn't on medication when I found the folder. I wasn't on medication when I hired my lawyer. I wasn't on medication when I froze my accounts. I'm fully aware of what's happening. Or you're having a breakdown. I'm not. That's what someone having a breakdown would say. Jules stood. Objection. Badgering. Sustained. Move on, Mr. Brennan. Brennan shook his head. No further questions. I stepped down and returned to my seat. Jules leaned over. You did great. What about Paige? We'll deal with it. Jules called the handwriting expert next. He testified via video deposition. His analysis was thorough and damning. The signature was forged. There was no question. Brennan tried to cross-examine him, but the expert held firm. Then Jules presented the notary verification. The timestamps didn't match. Rebecca Voss had notarized the document on a day when the clinic's records showed I was never on site. Brennan objected repeatedly. Judge Winters overruled him every time. Finally, Jules submitted Paige's statement. Your Honor, this statement details how Nurse Dalton was instructed to plant fraudulent documents and how she witnessed the forgery. It corroborates every piece of evidence we've presented. I ask the court to admit it. Brennan stood. Your Honor, without live testimony, this is unreliable. We have no opportunity to cross-examine. Judge Winters read the statement silently. When she looked up, her expression was hard. I'm admitting it. The statement is detailed, specific, and consistent with the other evidence. Mr. Brennan, do you have any rebuttal? Your Honor, we'd like to call a rebuttal witness, Brent Sloan. Jules's eyes narrowed. Proceed, Judge Winters said. Brent Sloan entered the courtroom looking calm and polished. He took the stand and smiled at the judge. Brennan approached. Mr. Sloan, can you explain your relationship with the Hale family? I'm a business consultant. I was approached by Evan Hale to explore options for restructuring his father's company. Did Graham Hale consent to this consultation? Yes. We had several conversations about it. I nearly stood up. Jules grabbed my arm. He's lying, I whispered. I know. Let me handle it. Brennan continued. And during those conversations, did Mr. Hale seem competent? At first, yes. But over time, he became more erratic. He'd agree to things, then forget we'd discussed them. He'd contradict himself. It became clear he was struggling. Objection! Jules stood. Mr. Sloan has no medical training and is not qualified to diagnose cognitive issues. Sustained. Stick to facts, Mr. Sloan. Sloan nodded. I'm simply describing what I observed. Mr. Hale seemed unable to manage the complexity of running his business. That's why the family sought help. Thank you. No further questions. Jules stood and walked toward the witness box slowly. Mr. Sloan, you testified that you had several conversations with Mr. Hale about restructuring his business. Can you provide dates for those conversations? Not exact dates, but they occurred over the past few months. Months? Can you be more specific? 3 or 4 months, roughly. That's interesting. Because Mr. Hale has phone records, calendar entries, and email logs covering that entire period, and none of them show any communication with you. Can you explain that? Sloane hesitated. We met in person. There wouldn't be a digital record. Where did you meet? At his office. Which address? I don't recall. You don't recall the address of the building where you had multiple meetings? It was a while ago. 3 to 4 months isn't that long. Mr. Sloane, did you ever actually meet with Graham Hale? Or did you only meet with Evan Hale? I met with both. Prove it. I don't need to prove. Actually, you do. You're under oath, and you're testifying to events that will determine whether my client loses control of his life. So I'll ask again. Do you have any evidence that you met with Graham Hale? Emails? Texts? Photos? Anything? Sloane's calm mask cracked. I spoke with him on the phone. Then your phone records will show that. Will you provide them to the court? I don't have to provide anything. Actually, you do. Your Honor, I move to compel Mr. Sloane to produce his phone records for the relevant time period. Judge Winters nodded. Motion granted. Mr. Sloane, you'll provide those records by end of day tomorrow. Ms. Merritt, do you have further questions? Just one. Mr. Sloane, how much does your company stand to make if this conservatorship is granted and Mr. Hale's business is sold? I don't know. An estimate. It depends on the sale price. Ballpark figure, a percentage. Objection, Brennan said. Relevance. It's absolutely relevant, Jules said. It establishes financial motive. Overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Sloane. Sloane's jaw tightened. 10 to 15% of the sale proceeds. So if the business sells for, say, $5 million, you'd make between $500,000 and $750,000? Roughly. And if this conservatorship is denied, you make nothing. That's not yes or no? Yes. Thank you. No further questions. Sloane left the stand looking furious. Judge Winters called a recess. We reconvened an hour later. Judge Winters had reviewed all the evidence. She looked at both sides. I've heard testimony from both parties. I've reviewed the documents, and I've read Nurse Dalton's statement. Here's my ruling. My heart pounded. The petition for temporary conservatorship is denied. The evidence clearly shows that Mr. Hale is competent, that his signature was forged, and that this petition was filed in bad faith. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the State Bar for investigation into Mr. Brennan's conduct and to the Medical Board for review of Dr. Wynn's actions. Mrs. Hale, you are hereby barred from filing any further petitions regarding your husband's competency without clear and convincing medical evidence from an independent source. This case is closed. She banged her gavel. I exhaled. Jules gripped my shoulder. We won, she said quietly. Across the aisle, Marla stared straight ahead. Evan and Tessa whispered furiously. Brent Sloane was already gone. We walked out of the courthouse into the sunlight. For the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. That night, I went home. Marla's car was gone. The house was empty. I walked through the rooms slowly, checking for damage or theft. Everything looked untouched. In the bedroom, I found a note on the dresser. I'll be staying with Rena for a while. My lawyer will be in touch about separation proceedings. I read it twice, then crumpled it and threw it away. I sat on the edge of the bed and called Jules. How are you feeling? She asked. Numb? That's normal. You just survived something most people can't even imagine. What happens now? Now we file a civil suit for damages, fraud, forgery, conspiracy. We make them pay. Will we win? With this evidence? Absolutely. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Thank you, Jules, for everything. That's what you hired me for. Get some rest, Graham. You've earned it. I hung up and lay back on the bed. It was over. Or at least this part was. The war was won. But the battles were just beginning.